Hi, how are ya? Acid reflux is extremely common, but if it occurs more than twice a week, it's called chronic acid reflux or gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD. The muscle between the esophagus and the stomach doesn't work appropriately, and what's supposed to be a one-way valve that opens when you swallow begins to let stomach acid contents and digestive juices come back up into the esophagus. This process over a long period of time can become a problem. The thyroid gland is located in the neck and is responsible for making hormones that regulate our body's metabolism, which is how our body creates and uses energy. An underactive thyroid occurs when the thyroid isn't making enough hormone. Weight gain and fatigue are often the result. There's a strong connection between the thyroid, acid reflux, and fibromyalgia. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. A direct link hasn't been found between acid reflux and thyroid disease, but this relationship can be found in those with an underactive thyroid, especially if it's due to Hashimoto's disease. The thought is that Hashimoto's is associated with an esophageal motility disorder that can lead to heartburn and reflux. Additionally, people with hypothyroidism tend to be overweight because of the difficulty in losing weight due to the lack of thyroid hormone, will increase the risk of acid reflux. I've spoken about Hashimoto's connection to fibromyalgia, so I won't go into that too much, but basically, TPO antibodies were found in almost 40% in fibromyalgia, and anti-TSH receptor antibodies were found in just over 20% of fibromyalgia patients. About 30 to 40% of people in the general population have Hashimoto's disease. That's pretty high. And the presence of fibromyalgia in Hashimoto's disease is 62%. I think I messed up that number in my video on Hashimoto's disease, but I mean 62%, that's very high. It's believed that problems with the mitochondria in the hypothalamic cells is the underlying issue. This dysfunction may be the root cause of both fibromyalgia and thyroid disease. Trauma to the system, like chronic infections, might precipitate these conditions and cause a hyperactive immune state, and then causing autoimmunity after the infection has resolved. So to assist with all of these problems, we need to reduce our stress, get better sleep, and improve our diet. These are found to be the most common things we can personally do to help with the symptoms. Additionally, if you think you might have a thyroid issue, get your TPO and anti-TG antibodies checked. They will probably also want to check your TSH levels too. But that doesn't normally start for several years after your thyroid starts to act up. If you don't have fibromyalgia, they recommend exercise. But if you do have fibromyalgia, You may have problems with normal exercise routines, so take it slowly. The gene variation mutation of MTHFR A1298C is tied to higher levels of fibromyalgia, IBS, fatigue, chronic pain, schizophrenia, don't seem to have a problem with that, and mood-related problems, especially if you inherited the mutation from both parents. I appear to have both. Usually, heartburn happens in acid reflux, which is a burning sensation in the chest, but some of us may have no experience with heartburn and have no idea that you even have acid reflux. I didn't until my allergist diagnosed me with it. I didn't believe it at first. You know, I didn't have heartburn, but I figured he knew more than I did, so I took the medication. This type of reflux is called, on the screen, or silent GERD, as my doctor called it, or sometimes called silent reflux. There is an acid reflux thyroid connection, especially in Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disease that destroys the thyroid tissue. In fibromyalgia, GERD is found more than 1.6 times more often in fibromyalgia. And fibromyalgia is found 1.5 times more often in GERD. Do you have GERD? The incidence is the same between men and women. However, it takes longer for GERD to develop in fibromyalgia than it does for fibromyalgia to develop in patients with GERD. Stomach acids will go back up into the throat or voice box, or even back into your nasal airway. That's what happens to me. I have hoarseness and cough, but there's other symptoms too, like I excessively clear my throat and have to delete a lot of that in these videos that I produce. Some days are worse than others. And when I had my endoscopy, it was confirmed. Recently, my family doctor refused to fill my medication. So I'll find out what that's all about when I see her August 9th, and I'll let you all know. But I don't think that the medicine is working anyways, because my symptoms have gotten worse. And I also have a very dry mouth, which is another symptom. My diagnosis for GERD was in 2015, but I've been having symptoms for a few years prior to that. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2008, so I believe the GERD was a result of my fibro. I don't know if I have a thyroid issue at this point. According to the Center for Occupational and Environmental Medicine, you should do the following. Don't drink liquids with meals. This one is difficult for me because some of the meals that my husband prepares are hard for me to chew because of my dry mouth, but he's learning. He's looking at various different ways to prepare meals so they're more liquidy or more moist. Eat slowly and chew food thoroughly. I can't eat fast anyway, so no problem with that. Add 1 to 2 teaspoons of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar to a glass of water and drink it 20 minutes before eating to increase your stomach acid. That sounds horrible. I haven't tried it yet, so I guess I'll let you know how that goes too. and avoid eating 2 to 3 hours before bed, which that's not a problem for me. So it appears to me that there's a strong loop between symptoms of GERD, thyroid disease, and fibromyalgia. Just something to think about and explore in your medical history and talk to your doctor about. And just think about this. 2/3 of people with fibromyalgia have belly pain, gas, and bloating, and often feel like throwing up. Good heavens, I can relate. Foods can often be the trigger. Constipation and diarrhea are also part of the equation. They call this IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome. Hypothyroidism contributes to low stomach acid levels, which leads to acid reflux, indigestion, or GERD, because the low level of stomach acid is unable to digest our food properly. So why do they prescribe a medication to reduce stomach acid even further? This is one thing that has perplexed me for some time, and why I'm not worried about going off the medication. Omeprazole, I mean, you explain it to me. If we have low stomach acid and we take a medicine to reduce stomach acid, how does that help? So you know that a conversation about that is one of the things I'll be talking with my doctor about. And just think about this. When the stomach acid becomes low because of low thyroid, the food cannot digest properly and it begins to rot and decompose. Ugh. When the rotted food reaches the small intestine, it rejects it and the food shoots back up into the esophagus, causing heartburn. Ugh. An even bigger reason to talk to my doctor. So I hope all of this makes sense to you. I send you gentle hugs and support. Love you. That's what happened. Acid reflux. My diagnosis for GERD: don't drink liquid in the chest. So if you stayed all the way to the end, I'd like to send out my prayers, love, and support to all the survivors and family of those who've lost loved ones in active shooter events. I live in Indiana, and the Good Samaritan who took out an active shooter in 15 seconds at a mall in Greenwood, Indiana is chilling. It's amazing. And just think what would have occurred if he had not done that. Unfortunately, 3 people died and 2 injured before the Good Samaritan did what he did. I know that the community of Greenwood is grateful for his quick response. They're calling him a hero. Indiana recently passed a law that you can carry and conceal a handgun without a permit. If that had not occurred, there would have been more than 3 dead and 2 injured. But otherwise, the result would have been more catastrophic. I'm proud to live in Indiana, and I love you all.